7:41, good morning to you, watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Yeah, it's time to go inside the papers now, and joining us this morning, senior reporter from the newspaper, Benjamin Butterworth, and broadcaster Liz Kershaw. Welcome to you both. Let's get going, Benjamin, with the cost of living crisis.
Yeah, I mean, cost of living crisis we're all feeling and used to, but this is a story in today's newspaper that schools are facing energy bill rises of 300%. So the man that runs Oasis Trust, which is a chain of 52 schools across the country.
Oh, that's Steve Chalk, isn't it?
I think so. Yes, you're right. Yeah. Correct. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
And he says that the average cost of the energy bills in those 50 schools has gone from £112,000 to £356,000. And he's warning that something serious is going to have to happen because they're going to lay off teaching assistants and not hire new teachers that they otherwise would have because they simply can't make ends meet. And I think we know the seriousness of the problem we're facing, but when it knocks onto things like kids not being able to get their education, and then you've got all the extra problems that children are coming into school.
Energy companies must have, they do what they call corporate and social responsibility, all these big companies. They must have a responsibility when it comes to education to say, right, we're gonna give you half your bill back, or whatever it may be.
I mean, I think something like that has to happen, Reverend Steve Chalk points out that they're having to double class sizes. They're having to get people in massive rooms so that they have fewer spaces to heat simply to make ends meet. And I think, the idea that people won't be getting a basic education because schools can't afford to put the heating on, it is really, an indictment of the situation we're in. It's pretty awful.
Yeah.
Why does it take somebody like him to highlight this? Why isn't a government minister already on top of this problem?
The Secretary of State for Education, possibly.
Well,
I just think you got all these stories of people's energy bills being, tripled, quadrupled, whatever. I bet you they're all on direct debit. And what happens is they estimate, don't they? The energy suppliers estimate, and then they've got the power to just hike the payment that they take out of your bank account. Historically,
you can adjust it.
Yeah, I know, but historically, they've always done that because when my mum died, we could claim back literally a couple of £1,000 living alone. They've been taking massive amounts off her unnecessarily. I've always refused, and I just send him my meter readings and I pay what I've used. And I have to say, I opened the bill, dual fuel, British Gas, very nervously this week, and I had a pleasant surprise.
It was only £5,000.
Yeah, because just paying for what I use, and I've, turning the lights on, using an air fryer, only having a fire in one room and not putting the boiler on.
I think
and I got my £66 off each
I just
bill.
sort of think with that, I mean, it's if you've got the spare cash to levy it out, but I think I quite like the direct debit because it means I'm paying the same in the summer as I do in the winter, even though I'm using more fuel in the winter.
I suppose it levels it out, but then you just budget for it. You just budget. But I do think we'll find that people who are watching now, and I might include the schools, will finally find out that the actual energy companies have been banking all their money.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Let's hope so, because the prices of oil and gas are coming down.
Well, they are.
Yeah. Well, they are.
Let's have a look at the Times and the royal race crisis.
Okay, so young woman goes to the palace and finds herself feeling interrogated, out of place, uncomfortable, traumatised. I know the feeling. There is no word for what I've experienced since I dared to venture from Leeds down to London to seek my fortune. I had no concept of the prejudice and discrimination against Northerners. And there's no word for it, so I've always tried to think of a word for it. You can't call it racist, but anyway, I've been to receptions at royal palaces and I've had some very funny questions asked because it's not what I look like. It's as soon as I open my mouth, then it's, oh, where are you from? As much as say, how very dare you have the cheek to be here today? What's your justification for being invited. Oh, I work for the BBC. Do you? So I've got, you know, explicit examples of that. And some of, you know, I can laugh about them now. For instance, when I first got onto Radio 1, which was part of the BBC at the time, run by Lady Susan Hussey's husband, Marmaduke Hussey. This was an organisation where you were told women are biologically incapable of driving a radio studio desk, where we were told, no, you can't do a daytime show because the audience doesn't want a woman keeping them company, they want a man, you know, because they fancy the guys. You know, all this stuff I had to put up with. I had a very well-known news programme host. I walked into a room, he was talking to Angus Deaton. They were laughing. I said, what are you laughing about? He said, oh, you wouldn't understand Kershaw, you know, public school, second name. Why not? Oh, well, we're just discussing our Oxbridge colleges. I said, how do you know I didn't go to Oxbridge? He goes, oh, you're so clearly red brick. You know, I've had that all the night. And I went to the House of Lords once. I was having a lunch with a member of the House of Lords at his invitation. We were saving 6 Music at the time, and suddenly this voice comes across the dining room. It wasn't very busy, the House of Lords dining room, and this voice went, excuse me, yeah, are you a northerner? I said, yes, I am. He said, I could tell because I have a friend from Bolton and you sound exactly the same. I said, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I don't, because there are many different accents in the north. We're not all homogenised, we're not all... But I've had that all my life.
I know, and a lot of the newspapers today have interviewed particularly black women, who all say you're asked it nearly every day, wherever you go. Where are you from?
Yeah, but I get that.
It's a casual racism, or in your case, a casual prejudice that actually grates. And other people, like you white people like me, have never experienced.
No.
But if you do experience that, and you experience it countless days, in and out, you're asked the same thing in this very patrician manner, it must really hurt.
But in her defence, I think she's very... I said earlier, I don't really believe in the elitism of this hierarchy, you know, up to aristocracy and then royalty. But if she's lived in that, she would have been told, now you must show interest in people and ask them curious questions. And that's what she was doing. She encountered a woman who looked different because she was, not least, dressed differently. And, you know, she's probably making conversation, but I do it all the time.
When she asked, where are you from, and the answer was Hackney, she should have stopped there. But then she kept pushing, didn't she? And I can see why. She's 83. I can see why she sort of, but where are your people from?
Well, if somebody said to me, well, where are your people from? I'd quite proudly say Ireland, you know, originally.
This is the thing, you know, my grandparents came to this country from Canada, but no one's ever asked me, where are you from?
No.
And I, you know, many of the black community, their grandparents were the people who came here, just like my grandparents are the ones that came here, but strangely, no one ever thinks to ask me that.
I think that's...
It's very, very
away from... just general curiosity. Oh, sorry.
So when she gets going...
Well, when you're with me, you get more northern, don't you?
I do, well, yeah. I have my telephone voice that I work with, and that's my real voice. Let me real voice. We are out of time. Liz, Benjamin. That's it. We'll see you later.